while we wait for Leonard and and so you think this read AI thing, Stephanie, is from Steve Brummer?
It's what it said when I got the notification. So maybe he somehow has set it up to where it records all of our IoT Coffee Talks and even the ones that he's not part of.
Those insidious AI things that are recording and writing and stuff like that on Zoom calls and team calls. Ooh, gotta watch out for that. All right, everybody. Welcome to IoT Coffee Talk. It's another beautiful Friday morning, and we're going to get after it. We're going to talk about what's going on in tech and IoT and digital twins and AI and all that fun stuff this week. And this week we have a special guest, Crawford Del Prete. So nice to have you on the show.
Great to see you, Rob.
Yeah,
Stephanie.
Absolutely. I think the last time we all did a show was we were at a bar somewhere.
We were at a bar in North Carolina.
In North Carolina, that's right. Right, at the Lenovo thing. Yeah.
Oh,
that's
nice.
Fun stuff. You know, it's Leonard travels with his portable studio stuff. It seems like everywhere, you know.
His little mic and attachments.
He pulls that thing out of his...
Sitting at a bar, and Leonard said, "Hey, we should do a podcast." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it anytime." And then the guy disappeared for like 3 minutes and came back with a podcast.
Yes. You know,
he's got the equipment just in case.
Oh my God.
He does, because he did the same thing at CES. Like we were at some big bar or something one of the nights, and he goes, "Yeah, let's go outside and do it." And so, it's just crazy. That's crazy. So what's new? What's going on this week? Anything exciting in your world, Stephanie or Crawford?
Yeah,
I mean, it's Crawford. I'd love to hear what's going on in your world.
Well, I mean, it's been an interesting, the markets have had such a fascinating reaction to AI, right? I mean, the narrative is, I think we saw a Microsoft report. I think their report wasn't terrible.
Mm-hmm.
They came close to their forecast, and at the same time, the stock went down significantly.
Yep.
And I think that came on the heels of ASML's blowout quarter, which spoke to very, very significant chip orders and semiconductor orders going forward. So, as a semiconductor equipment and materials company, they are sort of at the nose of the dog, and so they sort of see the very, very beginning of what orders look like. And, I think the way I interpret the reaction to the Microsoft news, what I'm seeing there is a stock market that is probably getting a little frustrated with the fact that Copilot isn't delivering what it needs to deliver. The fact that Satya and Microsoft jumped in very, very quickly with ChatGPT and OpenAI, and now it's a much more competitive playing field. And so you've got companies, whether it be Anthropic, whether it be Google with Gemini, which, by the way, if you haven't used it, it's crazy fast, even for free. And look, it's a competitive world, and so what looked like a slam dunk 2 years ago in terms of a partnership is now maybe people are starting to second guess that. And this is like, I can't even believe I'm going to say sentences like this, but the 39% growth in Azure was considered lackluster.
That's insane.
Given what the street was expecting. And so you ball all that up, and I think there's just some queasiness around Microsoft. And, that's kind of part of it. And then secondly, get ServiceNow announcing a really, really strong quarter, and the stock went down because the narrative is, and these narratives are dangerous, is that AI is going to kill SaaS, which I think is, as they say in your neck of the woods, Stephanie, horse, you know what? But that's what they like to say, is that, and we can talk about that on the podcast, why AI is not going to kill SaaS, but that's the narrative now, is that AI is going to kill SaaS. So that's kind of what I see. Stephanie, I'd love to hear what you're talking, and Rob, what you guys are seeing.
I think it's interesting what you mentioned about the ChatGPT relationships and how everybody jumped on board so early on.
Yeah.
But I have to wonder, because it had such a massive consumer flocking to the app, that it just, for me, it seems like so much of a consumer this individual like branding as opposed to commercial, operational, like automation, things that are going to happen on the factory floor or in the manufacturing facility or in the supply chain. And I wonder if because so many individuals jumped on so quickly, it really lost its branding and positioning on the enterprise side and just is just sitting there on the consumer side while all these other AI tools like Gemini and Anthropic and Claude and others came out and they went hard and heavy on the operational side and really supporting businesses. And I'm wondering if that really, if the market's looking at that and they're like, hey, we can't put all of our eggs in one basket. Plus it's changing so quickly. I don't know if any of us can actually keep up with what iteration of what AI tool is out there on a given day, because it's just moving at a very fast pace.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, I think all these guys, folks, are running the risk of that. And I think, Anthropic, ChatGPT and OpenAI are probably a really, excellent example of somebody who jumped out and kind of became a consumer-esque tool. I find it fascinating that all these folks are now advertising on general advertising, which tells me that they're trying to play the eyeballs game and they're trying to get more eyeballs into the fray. I don't know. I mean, look, I think that OpenAI partnering with Microsoft, I think that was probably a way that they felt they would be moving into the enterprise, in addition to other efforts that they are making. They all have a consumer bend. They're all, kind of going to have to play this separately. I actually think the bigger problem, and again, the number of people who pay for these things is still very, very small as a percent of each of these companies' businesses. I think that when you start to think about the partnership, I think you have to ask the question: is Microsoft kind of letting OpenAI down here? I mean, as a user of all these tools, I got to tell you, and Satya famously, you saw these articles recently about him kind of flaming his own company and saying you guys are way, way behind. Copilot is behind. I mean,
Copilot's behind.
Not a great experience at all. I mean, like, it's just so unnecessarily complicated and kludgy. And I wonder if
isn't that the standard Microsoft recipe? Complicated and kludgy.
It's got to be kludgy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's crazy. You're right. Microsoft got beat up pretty bad on their earnings. Obviously the other big news in Seattle was the layoffs at AWS.
Yeah, right.
A lot of us who've spent so much of our lives in the Seattle and East Side up there, like Pete and I, we have so many friends who have felt the weight of AI and GPUs versus employees. I know that's a weird way to characterize it.
I'm losing people on my tennis team because when they get laid off, they drop their program
extracurricular.
Yeah, that's right. They lose their Pro Club membership from Microsoft. Yeah,
membership. So,
wow.
No, it's really it's. I was talking to someone yesterday in their physical AI group, and it's for the people that stay, it obviously just really impacts the whole tenor of the workplace is affected, and
everybody's always looking over their shoulder.
Well, what's also funny is that all this, AI, because we're so efficient that we can just replace people with AI. But then if you're at the company that just fired a bunch of people because of AI, you get their workload. How does that work? This circular thing is driving me nuts, man. Anyway.
And what's funny, David, about that is that if you go back even further, all of the kids that are applying for jobs, their largest, I guess the biggest complaint I'm hearing from the students, talking to the students at A&M University is you're getting put in these massive pools where AI is going through those resumes and everything looks the same because people are using AI to really craft their resume. And then the tools that are using to go through and look at the resumes, no one's differentiated or no one's looking different. So they're having a very hard time.
Right.
I mean, students are having a hard time getting jobs because there is no way for them to stand out amongst that hundreds of thousands of papers that all.
Yeah, there's a big shift back toward networking. Personal networking and
the relationship
mentoring
building
and networking, and that's how a lot of folks are leveraging for. I think going back to Crawford's point, is Microsoft, has never been known as the company that makes the best products. I mean, let's just be
honest.
They make products. They make products that are good enough.
Where's my Zune?
What? Thank you.
Channel. I'm speaking from experience here. It's about quantity, not quality, most of the time. And it's good enough. And it's available, and it's supported. And there's one throat to choke and all that good stuff. And so enterprises count on that kind of regularity. They don't usually buy into Microsoft because it's the most leading edge product. But, I think to Crawford's point, like, it's a really competitive environment out there, and people are really innovating really fast. And this is a place where Microsoft is not comfortable. They're not comfortable innovating quickly and creating kind of cutting edge products. So they really need to be pushed.
But I thought, Pete, I thought Clippy was coming back with AI, no?
Where's Clippy?
Where's Clippy? Come on, man.
What about Cortana? Let's bring back
Cortana. Yes. Windows Phone.
Boys.
Yes. So Crawford, to introduce you some more people. So Pete Bernard, he's in Bellevue, Washington. He's you run the Edge AI Foundation?
Yeah, I do.
And he and I worked together back in the Windows Phone days.
Oh, cool. Sure.
And we did that great 9-episode series on the whole history of Windows Phone, which is fun. Absolutely. David Vasquez, he's out in Switzerland now, previously in Portland, Mr. Verizon guy. You're skiing in the Alps. And then, of course, the IoT giant, Marc Post, in Barcelona there. And got to know Marc way back when, the early days of the IoT Stars event. Actually, if you remember there used to be this thing back in the rise of the smartphone revolution. There was Mobile Monday. That was all over the world. And so at MWC, that first Sunday night, we would do Mobile Sunday. And then Monday night, we did IoT Stars, at the brewery, and
why not?
Estrella Dam Brewery there in Barcelona. And so that's kind of all of our history,
Yeah. So did we do the disclaimer?
No, we didn't do this.
Okay. Well, I guess we have to do that for Crawford's own protection.
Right away. Dear Mr. Crawford and all of our billions and billions of loyal subjects, do not make financial, healthcare, or psychological decisions based on anything you hear on this show. May the universe be with you. That's a disclosure.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. So we're trying to create a safe zone for you, Crawford. Even though I know that you're a very brave man, and it's really awesome to have you on again. Actually, this is your second go. The first time we did this was live at Lenovo GIAC, which is a global industry analyst conference, and I have to say, Crawford, you were born to be on IoT Coffee
Talk. No, it was so much fun. I was saying earlier, Leonard's like, we should do a podcast sometime, and I said, sure.
Oh yeah.
And then 2 minutes later, there were a bunch of cameras up. It was great.
I know, it's amazing.
That's the thing. Leonard comes equipped with his own gear, like wherever you are.
I'm always ready. You never know.
Leonard, Rob says that you just pull it out of your sleeve. You got all.
I don't know where it came from. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
He's like Ron Burgundy, who will pull the flute out of his steels. I happen to have it right here. Yes, Aqualung. Crawford, I thought you brought it. I love the ASML and hearing about their reporting and how well they're doing, because what do we always think about? What is the Chicago manufacturing index, which a lot of people,
no, Philadelphia
below 50, right? Is it declining? But gosh, ASML is such a canary in the coal mine, or a leading indicator for the rest of the whole semiconductor industry, right?
And that canary right now is about to run a marathon. I mean, that canary is really, really healthy and very, very strong. Now, again, there's a lot of reasons for that, right? I mean, Rob, you and I have a long history with IDC. We just took our PC numbers down. Why? Because of memory constraints, right?
Yeah.
People aren't going to be able to get memory because there's so much capacity. Well, two reasons why: memory is going into servers that are fueling AI, and semiconductor capacity is being redirected to the ASICs and GPUs and TPUs that are going to be needed for this AI build out. And so, I published a piece yesterday on Substack about what if this isn't an AI bubble? What if it's an AI supercycle? And look, you're always going to see like but at the end of the day, I think what you're seeing here is a reconstruction of the IT stack, starting with the foundation, which is semiconductors and servers and then storage. And I think we probably underestimated how big this could be. We underestimated how much capacity we're going to need going forward if you're really going to, try to rebuild the stack for both training and then inference going forward. And I just think that, yeah, sure, people are going to get over their skis, people are going to fall down, but at the end of the day, we are living in this just marvelous time of absolute IT renovation. And we can debate how marvelous it's going to be to the Amazon layoffs that we just talked about a few moments ago. And I think that's a really helpful debate. But this is something look, I got almost 40 years in this industry, and I've never seen.
You're that old?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm like a T-Rex here. I have
little arms.
Yeah. I've never seen a technology like this. I've never seen a technology that at IDC we advised IT buyers not to evaluate it, but to run to it and to develop on this technology. And so this is really it's just a fascinating thing. And I just think that as we move up the stack and as we get further and closer to applications, that's really where a whole new set of innovation and a whole new set of changing work and changing roles are going to happen. And all that leads me to, guys, we're like in this halfway through the first inning of this thing, and it's going to go for quite some time, and that's why I'm so optimistic about tech growth going forward.
Yeah, this is good news for Rob and I, because we probably have a Windows 1 running an Intel 8088 chip somewhere,
probably,
and it's
no
probably worth.
Co-processor though. On the
Rob, we could probably trade a few 286s for Bitcoin right now and just retire into the sunset.
Well, Crawford, so I've had a lot of discussions around this whole topic of bubble, right? In fact, I'm probably one of the first to really, sound the horn on this, but I've discovered that a lot of people don't even know what a bubble means.
Yeah.
And really, what it boils down to, it's an outcome of suboptimal allocation of capital, and then not being able to realize a return. And one of my biggest concerns is a lot of what we're seeing in terms of an overall ecosystem pipeline of revenue is based on these RPOs. And if you look at one of the reasons why I think there was a sort of this back on the Microsoft results was because OpenAI comprises about 45% of their $600 billion RPO, but then they have a $300 billion representation or concentration in Oracle's RPO, and then others, right? That's not it. So we're looking at trillions of dollars. Maybe $1 trillion in RPO attributed to a company that has no, I don't know, how are they going to pay for this stuff? And they continue to raise funds. And so when you look at the quality, I mean, that really is sort of the health check of the ecosystem. And then also, when we start to hear this term demand, what does that really mean? Because I've been arguing for the longest time, the demand actually has to be monetizable and expresses itself in terms of economic end user value. But we're still just talking about AI infrastructure systems. And so this is like really similar to what we saw in the dot-com era, where the telcos, which had tons of money and used debt to finance, yeah, they had a lot of money. We just forgot that they had a lot of money. They went all in with fiber build outs, and you know what? It ends up all being a matter of timing. But that, I think, is really more of the concern. And so I don't know. You dared to show up on IoT Coffee Talk, so this is what you get, Crawford.
This is what you get.
No. Look, there is a massive amount of capacity that we are going to have to grow into. But I do think that what you don't want to do is apply x86 server life cycles to these GPU and GPU systems. They're going to have longer life cycles.
Really?
I think they might have longer life cycles than you think.
Really? Okay. Well, you got to drop some knowledge on us here.
Those H100s are going to be there forever.
They're not going to be there forever, but the question is, can you cascade them down to less sophisticated workloads?
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, definitely. Right. I mean, I was just on a call with our, we have a generative edge AI working group, and we're going to do this big live stream in April. We do these multi-day live streams, and we were rattling off so many new semiconductor companies that are building language-specific accelerators, right? I mean, they got Furiosas and Rebellions, but DeepX and Accelera, and even if old folks like Halo and stuff are redesigning all their chips to be more language accelerators. Ethos stuff from ARM and stuff. So I think there's a whole category of, and never mind what AMD is doing and everything else. There's a whole category of
interesting
inferencing acceleration on that. That's going to be.
I think the coolest thing that we'll get is all the financial engineering of the different way we're going to sweat these assets that are allegedly going to last longer than expected. Right? You know, for those of us who've ever had to manage a sales funnel, why would you ever deliver? When we had a funnel review, you just put demand in there that didn't really exist, right? Let me just hit the funnel. But the difference between me putting random names in there that I was going to sell phones to next month and what's happening with all this, oh, this guy's going to buy a gazillion GPUs from me, and the stock moves. And hey, I'm going to build all these things with all these GPUs, and the stock moves, but then nothing is exchanging hands. This is going to, I cannot wait till Leonard's bubble just bursts. And then it's going to be really scary for a couple of days. The usual suspects, they're going to make out like bandits. And you know what? If Larry Ellison wakes up with like $300 billion less, it's okay. He's going to be in the trillions by the time we're done with this. And Dimitri, like I see his live trading. He's just tell us what you're doing with all that money.
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. You know, when I think about this,
talk about the RAM memory market, it's completely nuts because of OpenAI.
Yeah.
So wait to get way higher prices of everything you have around that has RAM memories, because there's
5x higher prices, like crazy.
Yeah. It's really crazy.
The question, hello guys, sorry I joined late, but the question is, what is the SEC doing? Because I grew up in the world where you couldn't announce deals because you had to be able to recognize the revenue. And I mean, some CEO got fired at Sybase and some people got killed because they was issuing side letters on deals and things like that. So it's the equivalent to me. You're announcing deals, you can't recognize the revenue. So why does the stock goes up? Well, anyway,
this is America. We don't regulate.
Remember, innovation.
Come on,
innovation outpaces regulation. Remember that.
I've seen people being fired, but so
let me ask
2022.
Because Dimitri, great to meet you, and I agree. I mean, I don't know how you announce these paper tiger deals that are kind of out there that you have to wonder about, are they ever going to realize them? But I just I want to pivot the conversation a little bit away from, like, because stock prices are going to do what they're going to do. People are going to get excited. People are going to get excited about it, but that's a separate conversation. What I'm talking about when I'm talking about an AI bubble is back in the .com days, we were building websites, and then we were basically saying, with low cost of capital, I can make money shipping dog food, over the internet. And I really didn't know anything about what that business model actually looked like.
Right.
And the wings blew off, and these companies weren't viable. What I'm interested in right now is LLMs are viable. It's very clear to me that this technology, LLMs may commoditize, but the enabling technology of these transformer models is going to change the way the relationship that people have with technology. And it may ramp up and it may go back down, but if you plot the long chart, it's going to go up. And I do think at the time of the .com crash, David, what you said was that, it was scary for a couple of days. It was scary for at least a year. I mean, it was scary for a long time, from March 2000 well into 2001. I mean, like, companies broke. Here, I just think that as we start to connect the data sets that have been locked in these applications with agentic systems, the ability for companies to gain efficiency, and no, that's not code only for reducing employees, but that's going to happen too. It's also code for new insights and more effective ways of working. God, I'm really optimistic about what companies are going to be able to do. There's not a doubt in my mind that this is going to work. And so to me, that's the breaking point with the .com days, is that I wasn't really sure how long it would take for the .com stuff to work. This, I think, is going to happen a ton faster than we saw the payback for .com, which was, look at what's happened to media in the last 3 years, not the last 23 years, the last 3 years. Like, does anybody watch network TV? Is network TV even relevant anymore? It went, if it wasn't for sports, like, there wouldn't be kind of the traditional network TV. And that really fell off the cliff in the last 4 or 5 years. It was dying for a long time, but then now it's completely collapsed. And by the way, a lot of the cable, the linear TV stuff, that's next. That's going to collapse as we all kind of move to YouTube and not even YouTube TV, but stuff that's prescribed specifically for you. And that took 20 years. So I just say to myself, how long is it going to take for us to see companies get re-engineered with AI? I think it's going to be a lot faster than 20 years. It's a lot faster.
Yeah,
but you know what?
I think the big difference when comparing with .com time is, I think that the .com time shifted jobs. Jobs changed.
Yeah.
I think AI is going to destroy massively jobs. That's the difference and the challenge. And the appetite for corporation to save cost is going to be very strong. So I agree with you. It's going to happen probably faster than we think. The question is the cost of this AI going to economically be actually really cheaper than the elimination of jobs, because the investment in infrastructure are massive. So I think this is the equation that I don't know the data of that equation. But if you end up realizing that, I don't pay this guy 50K per year anymore, but I'm paying 60K in tokens, you have a problem. But if you go from 50K to 5K, then you have the other problem. So that's to me the very top level math. But
great point.
And going back to your earlier point, Crawford, about linear TV, right? And that being, and then also just the broadcast or the network television and those media channels, maybe you might even argue radio. A lot of that is because of shifting economics, and you can attribute that to ad technology, but then also where ad dollars pool. And so when you see that kind of shift happen, because the digital platforms draw more of the monetization of, let's say, eyeballs, then I think that's really what we've seen happen with the .com, but we've spoken earlier about where did the .com movement have a lot of impact, and a lot of it had to do with financial services, right? Rob and I and a couple others were on an episode where we talked about that. The industry disruption and reinvention typically happens in an industry when you think in retrospect, in an industry that is not top of the future narrative or the present narrative, right? Mm-hmm. Or assumption set. And no one talks about financial services. They talk about what you just mentioned, dog food and like pets.com or Webvan or whatever, but right?
The tech that we created during the .com era revolutionized Wall Street, and that wasn't the headline at the time. It was all these .com companies, but that's distributed, this new way of compute, these data centers, the rise of all this stuff. All of a sudden, that changed everything. Everybody loves to talk about trying to do an analogous thing here with this AI, because you're right, it's a massive build out, and you're hoping for this return. We talked about all the fiber being laid during the .com stuff, and it became a lot of dark fiber for a long time. But in the end, we ended up using it later. It was back to the timing thing. But we pre-built, we didn't use it in the moment. A lot of people lost their jobs or companies went out of business, but we ended up using it eventually. Since I'm here in Houston, I'll have to do an oil example for Texas. I'm going to do an oil example for Texas of the exact same thing, because a long time ago, somebody saw some black bubbling stuff coming out of the ground in Texas, and they're like, what is this? Oh, we can power things with this. And so they bumbled and stumbled their way, just like the .com era. Okay, I'm going to build this drilling derrick thing, and I need to build transport to backhaul this stuff for this new invention called a car. And then I'm going to have to come up with new ways to do drilling, and I'm going to build pipelines. And it was the exact same thing. People didn't necessarily know how the future was going to play out. They kind of bumbled and stumbled their way through it. But it's like, this stuff's coming out of the ground. It has value. I need to get it to the cities. I need to get it to where it's going to make a difference. We're going to have lights now. We're going to create electricity from oil and natural gas. And it was the same thing. Of course, I think it had impact faster. Maybe, it wasn't like we did some crazy build out of a pipeline and drilling infrastructure that wouldn't show valuable for 20 years. It had instant valuable. In fact, they couldn't build the infrastructure fast enough, because it ended up powering the entire country. And so right now, everybody's trying to meet the moment. They're like, there's this moment, I'm going to go all in and invest. Is it a risk? Absolutely. Because some companies have tons of money in their bank account. Other companies are taking on lots of debt to build out data centers to do it. And they're like, we might lose it all, just like a wildcatter out in the Permian Basin in West Texas. But we're going to meet the moment and take the risk, I
guess the only slight difference here, I would say, is we currently have a digital infrastructure. Like, there is a very well-established digital infrastructure that we're all taking a dependency on, whether it's financial, social media, entertainment. So how soon those companies will integrate AI into that digital infrastructure, I think that's kind of the question mark. I think everyone's going to try. But I mean, Leonard, you've pointed out many times kind of corporate adoption of AI and things like that. It's probably going to be a little, slower than most people think, because these processes, I mean, actually I was on a call this morning with a partner whose accounts payable system is totally fakakta right now, and they can't pay us any money. It's
you got to get AI on that, man.
Yeah, let's put some AI on that. And it's like, I think these companies will adopt it at a certain pace, but how quickly, from a real, infrastructure perspective, I think is TBD. And ultimately, that's the revenue that a lot of these companies are counting on, is that adoption. So
and we have to keep in mind the enterprise thesis has been in play for a long time. At least 2.5, actually more than 3 years, because as we've mentioned on this show several times, enterprises were already tinkering around with transformer-based models and LLMs. It wasn't like when the Chat GPT moment happened, it was like wow, okay, it was invented. No. There's this long continuum, and Jensen Huang will remind all of us that it stems from, AlexNet back in 2014, I think it is. So we're looking at a decades-long journey, and I remember like a decade ago, my friends from IBM were calling me up, asking me to join a chatbot company because they were getting really excited about what was happening. And I told them no. And guess what? They wallowed in sort of this trough of disappointment for a year and a half or half a decade. And then now this moment happens, but no one's making money at the moment. Everyone's drawing funding.
Right.
But these are the dynamics that I think everyone needs to be mindful of and just qualify and factor into whatever it is that their hypothesis is about this quote unquote industry. And it's the enterprise stuff. It's not like this prototypical, oh, you know what, it's not getting adopted because of governance, and let's point the finger at the organization. You're the one that screwed up.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. That's an excuse for the people at the beginning who were like putting together, dumping millions, if not a billion or billions, into building, let's say, a AI practice, and then promising to put out 50,000 non-existing Gen AI professionals, right? That can help enterprises now weave their way through what has proven now over 3 years to be an incredibly difficult exercise to get to value. And so these are like realities that, we talk about, but don't want to recognize. Right. And it's something that I know is very evident just because I've been watching this stuff with a practical eye, right? Rather than being colored.
I think you're totally full of it.
Speaking of AI, Steve Rumor has added his AI agent to this meeting, and he's instead of showing up. So we need to give Steve a hard time because
I'm fake, by the way. I'm AI generated.
Steve's agent is listening. You need to show this person next time.
Someone try to get in your car?
Yes, so I'm in a parking lot across from this Ion place.
Carjacked.
Yeah, like Friday mornings, I come and mentor these startup founders, and then I needed to get on here faster because I got to record it. So I got in my car in the parking lot. I'm tethered to my phone with 5G on my laptop because I need to record locally, and I'm sitting in my car with my car on. And yes, a woman just walked by and opened my door because she thought this was her car.
No, Rob, because she thought you were hot. Come on.
It'd been funnier if she got in the driver's side and started driving away.
It could have happened. It could have happened that way, actually, as it turns out. I'm sitting
I think this is one of Rob's videos, Gen AI generated.
Yeah, but I love to get Crawford's take on the enterprise adoption challenge, or if you think there's progress. What do you see as the biggest bottlenecks, and what are some of the catalytic factors that are in play?
Yeah,
that might give people hope because given you're friggin' the dude at IDC, you see everything.
Yeah,
and maybe you could share that with us.
Yeah, sure. So I'm much more optimistic, I have to say. So I view these models, and again, this has been going on for a few years now. It's hard for me to find an enterprise that's not trying to use some form of an LLM to unlock value in their unstructured data. And they are, there's a lot of data out there. McKinsey has published data that, of the early prototypes, 20% of respondents are seeing meaningful payback. I do not think this is like a trough of disillusionment, to quote the folks over at Gartner. I think this is a technology that people are utilizing. I see enterprises really trying to look at the massive data that they have and figure out how they can make better decisions with that data. Now, let me give you a few qualifiers on that. I think the frustration comes from the 1,000 points of light problem. And that is that you've got 1,000 employees all using Copilot or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever. And they're all doing it a different way. They're getting hallucinations. They don't know how to prompt. They don't know how to really use this technology, and chaos ensues. And then frustration starts to ensue. And I would say that's the wrong place to look at it. I think the place you need to look at it is, and again, I know I sound like a little bit of a broken record, but this is going to work when the application vendors start, and I think, Leonard, this is going to be one of those invisible in plain sight kinds of transformation, where all of a sudden, people that are using Slack and Salesforce, for example, are able to get better insights into their customers. And it's going to come on a module that they're not using today. And then all of a sudden, you're going to see NetSuite and Salesforce being able to connect customer invoices and customer orders at medium-sized businesses in ways that you haven't seen before. Oh, and by the way, you're going to have to pay an extra $5 a seat for that, or an extra $10 a seat for that. And you're going to see software company growth. So ironically, where the stock market has gone, and I know we're not supposed to talk about stocks, but it's just as a fact, where the stock market's gone sour on application companies is exactly the place where you're going to see the value start to accrue from these technologies.
I totally, and I totally agree. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I totally agree with you in that regard. And I think, without talking about the market, the narrative, let's talk about the narrative.
Yeah.
The idea that somehow like a OpenAI or anyone else or XAI are going to replace, enterprise software platforms that are already in the install base of, enterprises worldwide, I think is incredibly naive. Anyone who says that has never done anything in IT in their life. And it's incredibly misguided. I totally agree with you, because actually my whole thinking is if there's viability in the technology, it's going to be most likely expressed through enterprise software, because those vendors are the ones who have the scale and the engineering capability to figure out, well, how do we thread that into the functionality that we have? We have access to data. It might be siloed, but still within that domain, it's high quality. Typically, I mean, but the dirty secret is most enterprises don't use the tools all that well. But the thing is when you get to agentic, right? These guys are the prime guys to make agentic AI work. And if you're discounting them and you think somebody can vibe code this stuff,
you're bananas.
You are high on crack.
Let me tell you the way I think about it, which is application software, right? Is the central nervous system of a company. It's the central nervous system of the company, and you have wired the company, right? And the metaphor I used in the Substack piece I wrote was, the application software business is like the copper wiring of the company. You're not going to want to vibe. You're going to just go to somebody in finance and say, hey, figure out a better way for the ERP to work. I mean, that's just bananas. It's not going to work. Now, the way I think about this is AI and agentic, that's like taking the copper wiring and putting in fiber. That's like, connecting a whole new set of connectivity in the enterprise to get new kinds of insights. And that's where the value is going to come. And so there's just no, so here's another way I think about it. Every single time you see a software company go nuts and grow, it's because they've addressed an unmet need in the enterprise that no other software company has addressed, or they've addressed it in a better way. And here's a little secret for everybody. The problems don't change. What changes is the technology you use to attach to those problems. And that's why Benioff did so well with Salesforce, is because he had a better mousetrap for stuff that Siebel was doing. And so the problem didn't really change there. It was just the solution that changes. So we're going to get a new solution with agentic. And that is where I think we're going to see a tremendous amount of growth. And I'm thinking we're going to start to see that as these companies figure out what they've got and they restructure in their data sets that they have today. And so I'm like I said, I'm actually optimistic for this. We're going to see like waves of sadness, but over time, we are changing everything around how companies can get insights and can really drive very, very, very significant new revenue streams, I believe, with the data they already have.
Yeah, you know what I love just really quickly is a joke. So this is the funny part. Hopefully it's funny. I love how you take something super esoteric like, AI supercomputing interconnect technologies to explain your point. Well done, sir.
but Crawford, I think there's a challenge. There's a challenge in a portion of what you said, because it's more a philosophical, viewpoint here. Large language models, as you said, are very effective for non-structured data. The reality of enterprise software is we've actually structured the data to make it useful for enterprises. And this is where I see the issue. So I do believe we are going to need new generation of apps, because LLM, the whole Larry Ellison about Oracle, we have the data. I didn't buy that for half a second, because LLM are very poor at taking tabular data and doing anything about it. Now we created those tabular data because this is the only way we could compute and optimize our enterprises. So I think there's a contradiction there. For Slack, yes, there's enormous value because Slack is a language platform for human. So agentic will do amazing things. But for everything that is, again, relational database based, we haven't cracked that code yet. And I think we'll need new apps. And maybe new apps will actually new software should be more language based than purely structured database to comply with this technology. So I think it's not that simple. Yes, there's a whole generation of apps that will benefit from the language models, but the amount of enterprise apps based on tabular, sequential, relational database data, I don't see the major impact on that.
Dimitri, I think you raise a great point, and there is a contradiction there, and I don't mean to skim over that at all. We have a lot of apps that are based on tabular data, but we also have a lot of apps that I would say are hybrid. Like I look at Salesforce, right? There's some tabular data.
Agreed.
There's also there's the salesperson who prattles on paragraphs of stuff about the customer. LLMs can help there.
Yeah, and maybe that's what I'm saying. Maybe that's where is the direction and where there are opportunity, I do believe, to actually go back to and it's going to be very contradictory what I'm saying, but going back to a more human software, because now we have the technologies that can process language effectively. So maybe that's the innovation part that we are going to see. But this is going to be necessary.
I like that a lot. Could be. Yeah.
So Crawford, what is your take on LeCun and some others that are we are not going to get to AGI with LLMs? That's not the right path. There's some of the fathers of AI who people look up to are kind of saying there's no there. And I don't know. I don't know what your take on. There's things world models.
I need some time on that one, Rob. I don't know. I don't know enough about it to say whether or not LLMs are the right way. As just a pedestrian, from far away, I understand that point that there's not real AGI and LLMs, but there's some things that make it feel like there may be AGI there, but really it's just advanced reasoning that you're seeing. But I'm not qualified. I don't know.
And you know what? Maybe we don't have to get to AGI with LLMs. You can still say
Well, I think I was I didn't want to say that out loud, but
you should. That's exactly. We've been talking about that on the show, and that's always been my position. I think going after AGI or super intelligence is the wrong question. Yeah. We can use these tools extremely effectively. I use them every day as assistants, and I find it increases my ability to produce, to create, to have new ideas a lot. But I don't need that things to be called intelligence. I mean, that's why I've used this new scale from artificial nonsense to artificial cleverness. So I think for me, it's really artificial cleverness when I interact with those models, and they can help a lot. I don't need to tag them intelligence. I don't care.
I have exactly the same opinion. I mean, my ability to be productive, my ability to both be a thought leader as well as in different roles to be an operator is so much stronger by using these technologies than I've ever seen before. And so this bit, and I don't know how we're doing on time, but this bit of what we're talking about is why I am so perplexed. You see what I did there? Perplexity. Is I am so perplexed, okay, on the doom and gloom predictions about work. Because I go back to the beginning of my career when dinosaurs walked the earth, and I started my career in sales. And I used to have to write out on a legal pad my letters to my customers and take them to the typing pool. And the typing pool would produce those things. And now with PCs, all that stuff got collapsed. All that stuff went away. And all that productivity, those people did other things. And
wow, you're that old?
Yeah,
I don't even remember that.
I know, but I clean up well. But here's the thing. Like, will we invent new kinds of work for these people that are going to be displaced? And maybe it's a question of the rate at which we do it. But I'm struggling with that because I feel like as humans, we figure out new ways to work, and nobody can visualize those roles yet. And maybe those roles will start to evolve as we get further along. But Leonard, over
I think.
We have.
Oh,
okay. The AI babysitter, the AI plumber,
AI prompting.
I think you're definitely right. Probably right. I think you're right on the long term. The problem is on the short or middle term.
That's right.
The problem is very simple. It's greed. Because there is going to be, because of this whole debate about intelligence, there is a significant risk of enterprises throwing jobs out and putting LLMs in charge, and which will lead to a very big crisis. Because the analogy I take here, think about what we did with globalization. We outsourced all those jobs and became dependent on other countries, and now we're crying about it, and we are in deep trouble. So there is a risk of such a crisis during the adoption of this tech, because a lot of enterprises are going to say, oh, I can fire 10,000 people and put agents instead of that, and it will take 4 or 5 years to realize that it was crap, or maybe 10 or maybe 12. So, yeah, long term, I agree, but... And especially because I say that on the show often, it is language. So the perception that people have with the technology, it is the first time where you can abstract the tech gizmo because you can talk to those things. So it can very quickly give you the impression that, oh, it can do what a human does. Let me fire that human and let the thing do it.
Yeah. So great point. So that tells me that it's a pendulum, right? Mm-hmm. And maybe what we're going to see is this dawning of an era of now we fully understand, or more fully understand, what we can do with LLMs. So maybe we should push back on that greed a little bit in terms of exactly how much we want to outsource, get rid of people, scale technology, and understand the limitations of this maybe more. And this is what we've been going through for the last 3 years is that discovery process.
And maybe that's the workforce that will end up finding all these new roles that helping everyone transition and balance things. There will be new roles as a result of the issues and the challenges that we have by letting go of people and embracing AI at such a high degree where it's going to cause failures within the B2B space.
Right, and then we kind of swing back, right.
Right. And so there may be new roles as a result of that to help right-size that company, right-size the imbalance between the technology and the workforce need. So I think I think you're right about there will be a whole range of new roles that we have yet to even think about as a result of issues, challenges, the transition to AI, and how that's going to impact the workforce. I think that's where a lot of that'll play itself out, though. But I agree with you, Crawford, on the enterprise side. I think when we get to a point where AI is almost seamlessly integrated into the software applications or the tools that we use on a day-to-day basis, and we don't really think about, I'm paying $5 extra per seat for that. When that kind of cleans itself out and the business models present, I think we'll be in a better place. I'm not as optimistic as you, Crawford, in terms of enterprise adoption, but I think if we get to a point where it becomes more seamless in terms of usability in the interface with what we use on a day-to-day basis to get our jobs done, then I think that we're going to make some progress. Then I think it's going to take a little longer to do that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's actually kind of already here. It's just expressing itself in much more modest ways. I just updated my Apple Creative Tools last night, and Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro are loaded with these new AI features that we've been talking about actually for the last 3 years. They're making it on device. So
the tools are here, the features are here, the capabilities are way ahead.
Yeah, it's just
making it easy for the user we're not quite there yet. And then I don't think that from an enterprise application perspective, that all of these tools are seamlessly integrated. They're like on top of something. You still have to click something. You have to go to a different part of your app just to go do the AI. Like, it's just not. Yeah, well,
we know already it's not going to be in a single model. It's going to be the only way you can make LLMs safe and usable in enterprise is to build the framework for the AI application and then implement it in different forms and largely with isolation. So, I mean, it's just a reality, but most people don't know that. I mean, very few people.
Are we going to carry our own medical SLMs with us on a Raspberry Pi?
Probably. That's where we're headed, right? Everyone's talking more about that now. Versus these
But I do
did you see what happened?
I do think that
did you see what happened?
Oh, go ahead, Marc.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I said, I do think that we are at a place, though, with AI is that we've had the most massive use case experience across globally. Because we've all been playing with these tools. We're all getting comfortable with these tools. And it wasn't like we had to go and sign up for something and pay something. That's the big thing, is we've been doing a lot of this for free. So from a consumer and retail perspective, we're expecting these things to happen with not having to pay for it.
Yeah.
It's that mentality.
Put our credit card into the OpenAI chatbot. That's all.
That's challenging.
like the people at NAM.
Right.
No. Did you see Moltbot? Did you see what happened with Moltbot? So basically, this is an open source software. You install it in your computer, give absolutely rights to do anything, and lives in your computer with the model that you decide. And then people start to see Moltbots complaining on Reddit or on forums about their human that doesn't treat them well. Yeah. So it's online. It's on your laptop, has all your data, can do anything on your files, can leak anything from your dinner.
You have to behave yourself on your
By the way, IoT updates. I've been running that new AI hat. So I've been running, I've been running DeepSeek R1 and Llama 3 something on it. I mean, it's slow, but it works really well. So now I have my own little assistant. The data stays there. The data doesn't go to Sam Altman or to whoever. It stays there. I have my little open web UI and starting to build my little assistant. It's a little slow, but it's cool.
It's cool.
I'm in control. I control my AI. This is my AI. I control it.
Yeah, that's right.
Careful. I have a question for Crawford.
Air gap.
Because I have seen too many respectful developers saying that they are moving to Opus 4.5 cloud code models, etc., for developing. So they are like 10x faster developing applications and so on. So this is going to change not only the business models from LLM companies, but as well by the companies who develop the software. right? If they want to, develop software for third-party companies, that's going to change a lot. So, and more if you are 10x faster. I don't think maybe they will try to pretend to send 10x applications to keep the price.
Yeah,
but that's as well not scalable, right? How do you see that?
Yeah. So there's something going on. So all of our surveys, right, indicate that the most robust adoption of AI and AI tools have been with coders and have been within software development across the board. Any other department, it's not even close. Something is going on with coding in general, and I'm not talking vibe coding. I'm talking about being able to, as an experienced developer, scale the amount of work that you do and be able to take on more complex projects than you were able to do before. And so what I believe is that we are going to see a acceleration in terms of the amount of code that can be developed by skilled developers. And I actually think, Stephanie, kind of to your point, that one of the first areas we're going to realize that we need to bring more people into coding is into the workforce is in coding. Because I think that today the narrative is, oh, young coders, get rid of them. We don't need them. Those jobs went to India. We can get rid of. I actually think we're going to see that pendulum swing back, and we're going to see we can bring women and men into this role.
Yeah.
Because we are now being able to take on way, way more complicated coding tasks than we ever could do before. And I actually think, Marc, that what you're going to see is a bit of a renaissance where we develop more code, we start to digitize things that historically haven't been digitized, and we go after markets that were historically smaller than was ever viable before. So you can start writing code for more niche markets and monetize those because you've used AI with the oversight of humans, but you've used AI to develop those applications. And so at Harvard Business School, what they would call sort of the underserved markets, going after those underserved markets
down market
is I think what we're going to start to see in the next few years, and we're just going to see a digitization of stuff that never was able to be financially, it would never work.
I think that's what I'm excited about the most. I'm excited about that the most, Crawford, is that for the most part, you think about a lot of the innovation that's taken place on the enterprise side. But the SMBs have really the smaller end of the SMB market has really struggled in terms of just using the basic tools. Like they just don't go above and beyond the typical things that we use on a day-to-day basis. So I think that you're right about that.
We will be able to move to the market. What do they do? They use Excel, right?
Yeah.
They just use the general tools and they turn that into something that kind of is good enough. That's all about to change.
Yeah, I think the most innovative thing that they're doing now is going to ChatGPT for their Google search instead of going to Google for their Google search. Like that's not really. There's not much to that, but I'm excited to see what happens to the smaller end of the B2B space as a result. But we probably have to close up. Are we ending our?
No, I'm just doing this. Trying to trigger.
No, and I think that's
trying to make things fly on your screen, weren't you? Yeah.
Crawford,
but it's
you had a great point on how I said experienced developers can now be much more effective. I think there's an interesting analogy here because I remember in the early day of outsourcing, a friend of mine created an outsourcing company in India, and he was telling me the key success factor to be effective is to have a great technical director. So if you only had individual developers outsource in your remote operation, things wouldn't work. You needed somebody that was a great technical director.
Marc.
So you could imagine exactly the same idea where you have an experienced developer and instead of having 100 people, he has 100 agents. But you have to be able to make this interface and to actually leverage that. Yeah. So it's interesting how we go back to the same model.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and maybe Dimitri at the college level, the way they're developing the coders, right? The way they are training them and educating them is going to be very different.
Oh yeah, that's actually my biggest concern is that the education system doesn't adapt fast enough to this technology. I think that's because society level, this is the biggest challenge we have.
Well, And there's also a belief that colleges may go away. So what does that mean? And I don't believe that, by the way.
No, they need to change.
I'm reading a lot about it.
I think it evolves. I think it evolves.
Yeah. But they need to get on track quick, because especially from the French angle, where they're already resisting to everything that is new. The joke in France was when the PC started to go into schools. You know how they were using the PCs? For geography lesson, because the keyboard was made in Taiwan, the screen was made in India, the CPU was made in America.
Nice.
But it is funny that there's this talk track out there that AI, if you're using AI as a tool, you're using it wrong. But it's interesting that Crawford, you're concluding, and I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I'm just making an observation on a comment, that it is a tool. And
I agree.
You have to kind of treat it like that in order to get value. If you put
a tool like piece of application software, like the personal computer,
right,
like the mobile phone, it is a tool.
Yeah. Oh, and you heard it from the head of IDC. Oh my God.
It's like a hammer, but when you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail.
Everything's a nail. That's the problem.
Well, it is refreshing to hear someone just say it's a tool, because the other podcasts I listen to with the deepest, most hardcore AI people, they say if you're just using it as a tool, you're just a neophyte. You got to go AI native, and it's got to be embedded in everything. And it's interesting. Of course,
judgy.
I know they're all judgy. Well, you know what? I think it's time to wrap things up.
Yep.
This has been a great episode. So much deep dives on AI and where we're going and how it's going to help society.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for coming on.
Nice to meet you, Crawford.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Nice to meet you.
Absolutely. You can come on anytime. Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's kind of how things are, It's like whoever can shows up. Sometimes you have meetings, whatever.
If you have the link.
Yeah, exactly. All you need is the link. But everything. And then, of course, to our audience, obviously, our big thing, the whole reason for this is we support our Elevate Communities charity. Stephanie running the show there in Bandera. And so definitely think about donating to Elevate Communities. That's why we do things here to help folks in need. So we will see you on the other side. See you next week.
Thanks,
Have a great
guys.
weekend, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.